Hi guys, am I audible? Could you please comment whether I'm audible? Can you hear me in the comments? Can you send plus if you can hear me right now? Can you hear me? Now I'm talking. Before I was not talking, so if you can hear me, just send plus. No, why? It's connected to audio. That would be a disaster. Okay. Okay, awesome. So you can hear me. Yeah, great. I was a bit like afraid, like, oh, it's like, no, you cannot hear me or not. So I will start screen sharing. Let's see. So for my presentation, then we will start. Awesome. Now could you send plus if you can see the screen with the presentation, like how you can craft and like the title one? Great. Okay. I think it's because in defense. Just a second. I will try to share it. We are gonna wait like 3-4 minutes for others to join. I just stopped sharing. I will just because if I see the presentation, I will not be able to see the comments if I don't share it with myself. So I will just figure it out in like a minute. Like, let's see. How is your day, by the way? Arafah, Mubarak to anyone who is celebrating. And currently, I'm still in US. So Stanford is located in close to San Francisco, but currently I'm in Los Angeles. Let's see. Okay, I was able to open it in the same screen. I will continue to screen share. Oh, it doesn't work on that. Okay. Okay, now I can share the screen. Continue for that. And yeah, so awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna come to Uzbekistan. So in the summer, I have a internship, and I will be in Uzbekistan after that, which is in the middle of August. We will do Q&A at the end of the session, so you can ask your question. You can prepare during. You can also put it into chat during the presentation, so that would work too. And if there's some points that I need to clarify, that would be great. And yeah, I think we can start. This how long will this be? It's gonna be like an hour. Um, so yeah, not too long. I will try to keep it brief and give like the important informations right on. And yeah, let's start then. So when it comes to Ivy League, the start, let's start with like a quick introduction of myself. Some of you may be new here. So I was born in Tashkent. I'm from Uzbekistan, and I also I lived half of my life in Uzbekistan, half of it in Turkey. Then I graduated from Turkish public school, and so then I started my journey. Just like 9 months before I submitted my application, my stats are presented here, and then you can type your questions in the chat. And also, I've been doing mentorship since last year for the admissions, and one of my students got into Harvard with full ride. You guys know Abdulaziz, and then also Duke, NYU, and other colleges. Let's see. And so, when it comes to why it's important to pursue your dreams, like I understand that as this application process is like very very stressful, but there are some amazing things that if you get like full ride scholarship, which is the limit is like if your parents are earning less than 100,000 in Stanford, or it depends, but like around that. But if your parents are earning below that, you probably get full scholarship or full ride scholarship. You can check with like the university specifically, but they basically, for myself, I can speak from my experience, they cover housing and food and everything. Like they cover all tuitions, they cover your health insurance, they even give you money for your personal expenses, and they also cover one round trip between your country, for example between Uzbekistan and US, and some other cool stuff. So, but everyone wants those perks. I understand. Like this is amazing. Like once you get into this, it's like your future is like kind of is in a good hands. And when it comes to, but you have to work hard because we know that it's everyone wants to get into top universities. So admissions rates are very extremely low, and especially if you're international, then it even decreases more because international capacity is lesser. So that's why you need to, I would, yeah, push you to work even harder. When it comes to my mindset, I would say that if you want to achieve exceptional things, like you are wanting Harvard or you are wanting Stanford because it's exceptional. If it was like if the admittance rate, like acceptance rate, was like 50%, you wouldn't want it, right? So it's like if you want something exceptional, then you need to do exceptional things. So I will be mentioning some unique things you can do to stand out from other people, because most of the people who are applying to top universities, they have they're also have good stats and other stuff. And when it comes to my approach into the admissions process, was always been um, understanding what admissions officers think about my application. So during me preparing my own application, Stanford application, I listened all of those admissions videos, like admission file videos, admissions officers podcasts, so that I can understand actually what they pay attention to, instead of getting information from other people who didn't experience this process. So it was great to look from their perspective. Admission file is basically, some of you may not be familiar with that. Once you get into university, you can request your file that is rated in different categories and why they admitted you. Like you can see those things. And I also read my admission file. I will talk about it in the end of the slide. I also put like how they rated my application while in for the Stanford. And when it comes to the process of whole application, I would recommend you to look from admissions officer's perspective. Like put yourself in their perspective, and then how would you, what kind of students you would choose. So to understand that, this first, once you submit your application, what happens? So they read your, so reading starts. It starts with background information. Background information is like, where did you go to school, and then what's your school profile. But then they will go to more other stuff like grades. If you of course like have low GPA, and then low SAT, then they may not even um, take much of an put much of an attention to the other things like extracurriculars or essays. So they will look at your stats, whether you are gonna be, this is actually reasonable for them, because once you come here, I'm finishing my first year. I already finished my first year in Stanford, and the courses are rigorous. So even though I have 1560 SAT, or like my friends are amazing people coming from like IB levels and everything, but still it's challenging for everyone. So that's why if your GPA is low and an SAT is low, even if your extracurriculars are amazing or essays are amazing, they will not be able to accept you, because if you cannot pass the classes, you will just drop out from the school, which affects its ranking, like school ranking, and then yeah, retention rate. That's why it's important. And then they will look at your extracurriculars, essays, and after there's like sometimes two readers, there are sometimes three readers. And if the reader one likes your thing, it will go to the reader two, and then committee reading happens. In committee reading, they will present, those admissions officers who read your application in the beginning, they will present your application to other admissions officers and the dean of admissions as like a case, like this student is coming from Uzbekistan, she's passionate about this and that. And then they will give an introduction, and in the committee reading they will rate, like they will give a vote whether to accept you or deny you. So that's basically the process of what happens. And usually that process happens, and your application will be read, like they will spend at most like 10 minutes to read whole application. What I mean by whole application is like including recommendation letters, essays, your transcript, extracurriculars, everything. So basically essays and everything. So yeah, in the end, I will show my admission file so you can understand what kind of things I did correctly and I did wrong. I will give comments about them. So when it comes to your application, we will start with academics. As I mentioned, it is kind of like um, bare minimum kind. After you pass certain point, you are okay. You can graduate from Stanford, or like you can graduate from top school, but it doesn't mean that you will contribute something impactful to the world, which those top universities, Ivy League universities, want. And they want someone who is in the future, their alumni should be someone who is famous, someone who is impactful, and so that they can bring donations, like also, actually, when you think about universities, they're businesses, so they actually care about this alumni donations and everything. So that's why it's important to have your impact. So firstly, academics. GPA is very important. So I would recommend you to keep your GPA high, but it also depends circumstances. For example, if sometimes your GPA may drop at certain points, you can explain it in additional information, but in a correct way. Like there are ways to explain that, but it should be reasonable. But usually it should be a great GPA. And AP test, if you can take like AP test, IB test, or A levels, they always put some kind of advantage, because they can see that it's in an international level, so they can see the like academic rigor of the classes that you've taken. And also in terms of your academics, they rate your, so Harvard also has a rating for like full academic section, and then it has a rating for extracurriculars and other personality, other stuff. And research paper also one of the thing that is amazing to increase your academics rating, because research papers show your true passion for the academic inquiry, which is basically those top universities, Harvard, Stanford, they are all academic universities and then research universities. They care about those things. So that's why, if you can, we will talk about your niche and personal brand, but if it can be related to your research paper can be related to your own unique thing, then that would increase your chance more. It means that you're not just like a test taker, you know. Sometimes students just try to ace from like, oh, I got 1550, now I have to get like 1600s from SAT. Then this is wrong approach, which students waste time on that. Instead, if you can write like research paper, which Stanford has like intellectual vitality ranking. Intellectual vitality rating is like basically outside of even like academics, or like including the academics but also outside of the academics, what you do, like are you a curious mind that is like not just a test taker. And digital SAT, most of the schools, Stanford also made it required, not for this year but for the next year. But still, I would recommend, if you can take digital SAT, you can study from Khan Academy, self-study. I also self-studied. As long as you, what I would recommend is like, don't try to do 1600. Like it won't benefit you like at all. Like you don't need 1600 to get into those top universities. Instead, you can use your time wisely to other things if you don't have that much of a time. Because so I looked at my admission file, right? How they rated my application in Stanford. So my SAT is like 1560, and my test rating, they have test rating section, and they rate from 1 to 6, and 1 is the highest. They put 1560 as the 1. Like they gave highest point to the 1560. So there's no point of like, if you get above my friend who got 1540, he also got one test rating. As long as you are above 1500, I would say it's good enough. And then pay attention to Olympiads. Those are the things that will increase your academic ratings and intellectual vitality things. And in terms of IELTS, okay, in terms of IELTS, TOEFL things, as long as you have 7.5, you're good to go. Like you don't have to have 9 IELTS to get into top universities. IELTS is just basically how good you know English. That's it. So my friends who had like 7.5, they also got into Ivy Leagues. After 7.5, they don't care that much, and they care more about other things, like whether you're gonna be impactful leader. And you can check out the common data set of like to see what is like the SAT levels. But as I mentioned, it's not everything. Holistic approach is more important. Academic things is just like bare minimum, as I mentioned. It's just like will pass you the door so that they can take your extracurriculars and essays more seriously. And yeah, in the holistic admissions, what we have is like application requirements, essays, recommendation letters. Just a second. And also extracurricular activities, which is very important. And in common data set, you can see like what is important to each university. It will change. You should just type this and then Google with this university name. Each has their own. But when it comes to intended major, we'll try to go through like the important points and then like the first steps. So you first try to choose like your intended major, like what do you want to major in, right? So let me check whether there's like a questions. Okay, just for a quick break so that I can make sure that it's not okay. Awesome. Hello from Turkey. Yeah, hello from Turkey. I'm also with my Turkish friends in Los Angeles. Merhaba. Anyways, so let's continue on that. In terms of what is your intended major, most of the students, they put intended majors like most of them want CS or economics, which is like popular majors. There's nothing wrong with wanting it, but uh, these are broad majors. You need to go deeper, like you need to go into more detail. So what I would recommend is that finding your niche. You need to stand out with your unique thing. That is, what part of the CS is it, let's say, integrating AI to law enforcement. This is like very niche, something that one of my students also created their application and got into top university. And let's say, or something other. You can integrate AI to healthcare, uh, or let's say in computer science you can focus on cybersecurity. So different things. Try to find your niche. This is very important because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm passionate about computer science. Computer science is very broad. You don't want to be broad. You need to stand out. So colleges are looking for diverse classes. They're not expecting to do everything. uh, it's like well-rounded or spike argument that we have. So they want diverse classes, not diverse individuals. This is very important. So it's important to have multiple extracurriculars, like multiple extracurriculars related to a similar niche, compared to all over the place. Like one extracurricular is like related to something else, like economics. The other one is environmental science. The other one is computer science. But you kind of like, it depends on how you can connect. You can of course connect if you have environmental science extracurriculars and computer science extracurriculars. You can explore the options that connects how you can use technology, your computer science knowledge, to solve environmental issues. There are the ways to connect that and then actually create a niche thing, but try to be specialized individual. I would recommend. This is part of like the creating your personal brand so that you will be rememberable in the 10 minutes, literally. Because like if you are not rememberable, then it's very risky. Just a second. I think my battery is like going low, but I'm kind of outside. So 1 minute break so that I can bring my charger. Okay. So I brought my charger. Sorry for that. And just plug my. Okay. Awesome. I'm back. So I hope it won't. Isn't it? Okay, now it's connected. Yep. We can continue. Okay. We are gonna talk about some of the questions that's in the chat. Uh, yeah. One of the comments that I agree is that you should be choosing what you have passion in, not something easy. Definitely. Let's continue then. So, in terms of creating a personal brand, is something unique to you so that you can stand out and then be like a rememberable person. Oh, this girl is like who does something AI for the healthcare and then uses AI for neuroscience or something like that. So if you can have like a personal brand, that kind of it, you will be more rememberable and then unique. In terms of other things, as I mentioned, well-rounded versus spike students. It's better to have connected extracurriculars and got recognition for them. So it can be like, let's say you're interested in international relations, you can do extracurriculars related to politics, economics, history courses. They're all related. That connects like international relations, and you can do research into them or international programs. Um, and then let's continue. What I would recommend, how you can find your niche on that, is there is double edge method, which I give some example on it. Combining two majors or diving deep into very specific field. And as I mentioned, like if you combine medicine with technology, it's kind of like biotechnology or like creating technological devices for medicine or detection techniques. So make first edge more unique and add a second edge. So let's say you are interested in medicine, right? But what part of the medicine? Medicine is broad field. Like it can be cancer, it can be related to cognitive uh, debilitation, like cognitive disabilities, or it can be related to something other things like nutrition. But let's say we are focusing on debilitating memory disorders, which are like Alzheimer's, dementia, and in the second one, hone in on your second edge. And let's say you're interested in art and you want to connect medicine with art. So this is actually you can connect it in a unique way and create unique application. Let's say you do stop motion animation in art because art is also broad. So if when you choose two majors, try to narrow it down to the specific topics in them, and you now combine. Let's say one of your extracurricular activity is like creating educational videos with stop motion on people with debilitating memory disorders. And in that way, you can like partner with a nonprofit to create advertisements so that you can fundraise for the cause. That is more unique than just fundraising or just doing art, you know? So using your skill to do something good and impactful for the community. This shows lots of important values that's also important for the universities. And then you should support it by activities. Once you find it, I would recommend to do something like this. Come up. We usually so with my students we also try to find something unique and what we can do, like what is like doable activities, what kind of passion project we can do. And yeah, they come up with like amazing things. Being able to pursue your niche interest from different perspectives is also important. Like let's say, as I mentioned, this person is passionate about debilitating memory disorders. This can connect with art and medicine, but also it can connect with, if they know technology, they may create a software that is related to detecting debilitating memory disorders or something like that will ease the life of the people who are struggling with that. So this is important, and that's how you can create, and that's how we do like unique extracurricular activities. let's see the next one. And yeah, like one of the important, like small tip, but like most of the people overlook, is that always preview before you submit your activities and essays. People don't like preview is like very in the corner part of it, which actually shows what your application will look like in the eyes of the admission officers. Sometimes they will, so students will have extra blank spaces between paragraphs, or accidentally leave no space. So that's important. That's why I always preview. And the last most important tip for the activities is they definitely take your context into account, which basically means that so they will not say, let's say you are coming from a village, or you are watching it from a village or some underrepresented place, then they will, it's better to explain it in your application, but of course in a, we do it in a smart way, not like just saying that, oh, I'm coming from this place or something. But uh so they take your context into account. And for example, I also didn't have any like so amazing international, like I'm not like Olympiad student or something. But what I my admission officer mentioned in her note that she sent to me after I got into, is that you made the most of every opportunity available to you. So I also studied in like from public school. We didn't have so much resources, but still, I whatever, if I didn't find an opportunity, I would just create one. So like you should be more proactive, and then they will actually give a credit for that. Like then it's like amazing because you are doing it like from scratch. And as I mentioned, if you cannot find an activity to do, let's say club to join or something, just create one. And I know it's a hard process, but it shows leadership. Let's say you're passionate about AI, and then it's better to create an AI club than just join like computer science club. Or it shows both initiative and other skills, organizational skills. Impact is important in writing your activities. So one of the huge problem that I see in students that come to me like for like the advice is that they have amazing activities, but they don't uh, they don't like impactfully put it into the wording. Because we have limited space in the activity section, it's very important to prioritize what is important for the admissions officers and the impact that you've done through your activity. And there are methods for that, but it will be a long topic. But it's very important that you focus on that and explore and accelerate your area even before university. If you're saying that I want to major in computer science, so Stanford or Harvard, those top universities, they want to see already you knowing a bit about your topic, um, like that you want to major in. Can you change it here? Of course. Like once you come here, you can combine it with something else, let's say computer science and political science or something. You can change it, you can combine it, but it's important that it's like related, you know. And the number of activities, it's more important to have quality instead of quantity, but I would recommend to not go below 8. It's okay if it's not 10, but if there are like 8 amazing activities, it's also great. um, and there are some of the examples that you can do. um, Also, another important thing is like try to catch international activities, because it will show that you are some, especially if you're international, you got exposed to diverse range of people, diverse range of interests, and then you can be open-minded. It shows like it shows going extra mile, because most of the students, they don't even try to apply for that. So yeah, those are some of the examples, but I'm sure that you can find. And then so as I mentioned, we will start like course in June 22nd, and then during that time we will also dive deeper into each of those topics. I need to keep it like 1 hour so that it's like lots of informations actually. But yeah, there's so much details into it, but generally try to apply for international activities. And some of the examples that you can get inspired, those are volunteering, internship, professional experience, also amazing. Don't think that you are small and then, oh, I cannot find internship. um, I would recommend you to reach out to people, and then with your resume, and then show your skills. And if you do internship, that it shows proficiency in the thing that you are doing. But and then also there's something called passion project, which is uh, a big deal. I would recommend to have a passion project. Passion project is also another big topic. um, it's better if it's related to something that you are passionate about, and that also connects with the social cause, but also using your skills for the social cause. But it's unique to everyone's case. So, anyways, those are the examples, and still, as I'm mentioning, stellar activities without context is not enough, because I also like hear the comments like, "Oh, I had better activities than him or her. Why I didn't get into Harvard or like top university? Instead, this guy or like this girl got into." Like, this is not only activities. So without the context, without the connection that you build, like your whole application should be connected, then it's like kind of not nothing. It seems like the student is doing just for the sake of doing, then it's actually like very disadvantageous. So that's why essays are important. That's why supplemental essays are important. So I would recommend to use Google Documents. So this is Common App prompts, but basically you can write about any topic. Like, prompts are not important. Like the last one is basically whatever, any topic of your choice. But there are some rules in Common App. I would advise you to to do, so that you can create like a competitive essay. So we will look at the essay tips now. And so your essay should tie together the application. It should it should not be the same. I'm not saying like repeating the same thing that you've done, but approaching the similar things. Some topics that I would highly recommend you to mention. So, for example, when we were creating Abdullah's application to Harvard, we try to show him in very different perspectives. Uh, Not only just like he applied as a mechanical engineer, and computer science. So we just didn't pay attention to nerdy side of him, but also cultural and social background that he has. Like, everyone has unique cultural and social background. I would consider you to reflect on that. And also in the essays, another topics is like the social issues that you care about. Think about them, and think about what you want to do in the future. Because if you want to get into top universities, the university should not be the goal. If the university is the goal, those it's like it will be apparent in your application. And it's just like, oh, just accept me. If you accept me to your university, I will be the amazing person in the world or something. It's like not good. And when it comes to university, it should be just a tool. Your mindset should be that university is just a tool for me to reach something bigger, that I'm already contributing to that cause, but university will just help me to amplify the impact that I'm doing and give me the network and the skills that will help me to just like make it bigger. Not like the university will not make you from 0 to 100. If you need to have already something that you will be amplifying. So that's why approach it as a tool. Like even when you're applying, when you're writing essay to why college or like why major essay, students usually write like, oh, why this school? Oh, I love it because it's like the weather is nice there. It's like amazing. If I go there, I can be amazing person or something. But they should approach in a way, I am already doing something, and through your university and through this resource in the in your university that I found, I will be amplifying what I'm already doing through that way, or like add something. It should be detail. It's kind of like it should be detail. It should not be generic. But I'm saying so that it's applicable to everyone. But it's kind of like in this overall structure. And yeah, basically some of the points here that you can read. And in terms of essays, what we did with my students is that they wrote lots of reflection, and we tried to find what is important and what is not important to include in your application, because some students approach the application as a whole biography of them. I wouldn't say that it should not include every little thing that you've done. It should not be everything that you've done. It should be, you should prioritize important things, certain parts that you think is important, and mention them and leave out the unimportant parts. In terms of that, that's where we help with the students, like what is important, what is better for you to focus, and what is not to focus. And so also during the reflection process, you're writing, you should write a lot. Your first essay will always be very bad. It will always be shallow. But through writing more and more and actually challenging the ideas that you have in your essays, like let's say in your essay you wrote that I want to help people because I care about them. Or then you can challenge like, okay, why I want to help people by becoming a doctor. Like I want to become a doctor because I want to help people. Okay, you can become a computer scientist and you can help people to do something else, or you can become a economist that helps people too. So challenging your ideas will make you more nuanced person, which it shows intellectual vitality too. So basically, also I would recommend reading more philosophy books because they dive deeper into the thought. That kind of tips would help you a lot in terms of improving your essay. And during our course, we also write lots of reflections like each week, so that students can find themselves and keep what is important and leave out the what's unimportant. In terms of overcoming a challenge, some students think that, oh, I don't have a dramatic story, then I won't be able to get into Ivy League or something like that. And no, it is wrong. You don't have to have like the most challenging story in the world, and also like the most challenging story in the world won't make you accepted to top university. Like it is more important how you approach the problem and your solution thinking process, like decision making process that I'm mentioning in your that you will show in your essay. It's more important than the challenge itself, because let's say a student, so unfortunately two students, let's say, has a parent that is dealing with very bad disease. Let's say it's cancer, but one of the person is dealing with just writing in their essay that how this their, let's say, father's cancer impacted them and in life and other things, and the other person is actually got motivated by the problem and tries to look for the solution. So let's say the student goes tries to writes a research paper about the cancer, or does shadowing work in the hospital related to the cancer, or does volunteering things, opens a non-profit organization related. So there are two different approaches. Both had the same challenge, but your approach is more important. That's why the most dramatic story is not the best. Yeah, summarizing that, basically have a tight narrative. To create a tight narrative, you need to write a lot, because conciseness doesn't come in the first place. Conciseness comes from writing a lot of things and cutting out lots of unimportant stuff and getting to the gist very important. Like every word, like while um, analyzing the essays and also while crafting the essays, we pay attention that every word makes some kind of contribution to the application. So it should not be just for the sake of word count. And prioritization is very important, as I mentioned. What part of your life are you gonna keep in the application and which is not important? I also did, so there was some activities that I spent 1 or 2 years, but I didn't include them because I didn't have a space in extracurricular activities, but I also saw that it will just be a distraction for my application because it's not related. So transformational journey is also a good thing, because usually successful common apps that we saw that got into like top universities, in the main common app essay, they start from point A and then they move to point B in the end of the essay through some kind of transformational journey. You know, there are some heroic stories that you love. Let's say story of the Batman, story of the another hero, let's say Spider-Man, or those kind of heroic movies. You see the character development in the person. So admitting that they are wrong in something in the beginning, or admitting that they had a different idea to about something in the beginning, but um, then changing it and showing that the decision making why they did it through this transformational journey is one of the examples. And other things also important. Cultural aspect, I mentioned, like your social background is important. um, Everyone has unique background. For example, I had my Uzbekistan background. I'm very so with my Uzbek background, for example, how I can contribute. I also showed how I can contribute to Stanford. So if I'm Uzbekistan, I also lived in Turkey. I came here as a freshman. When I came here as a freshman, I actually became founding member of a club called Stanford Central Asian Students Association. So, and then we created a bunch of events representing Uzbek culture. Before that, it wasn't existent. So every individual has very unique something that they can contribute to the university. That's how we, in the thinking process, in the reflection process, what we talk with the student, and okay, you stand out, you can stand out from this point. And yeah, basically uh, showing it in a good way is important. Maturity in your essay, basically how you can contribute to the university, not how the university can contribute to you. Most of the students, they say like, okay, you have this amazing stuff that will contribute to me in that way, which is, of course, it's going to contribute amazing way, but they don't mention how they will contribute to the community that the university has or other stuff. And so the last thing is like recommendation letter. Quickly, it is the required one is 2 teacher, 1 counselor. Most of the people don't take it seriously, but it is very, very important. Even Harvard has a different rating place for the recommendation letters. They rate each recommendation letter separately. So it is important, and it can add lots of context to the something that you couldn't mention in your essay. How it can add context is that you will give brag sheet, kind of like bullet points, so that your teachers or counselors can remember what you've done in the past and while they were writing that recommendation letter. Should be very specific and detailed. Also should not be very short in just like adjectives. It should not be like, oh, this student is smart, genius, hardworking, kind. This is just like nonsense. It's a nonsense recommendation letter. It will apply to anyone. It should not apply to anyone. It should show small anecdotes, like very actually specific. So, and I understand that teachers and counselors, they have many students, so it's hard for them to remember. So bullet points and brag sheet will help them to actually remember that. And through recommendation letters, admissions officers assess your impact to your community and what campus enrollment, what did you've done. So, and also there are differences in the recommendation letter, what the focus should be. For example, counselor recommendation is more can talk about like your outside of school activities, and then if you talked about it to your counselor. But your teacher is like, they will assess you in a more academic way and your classroom environment and intellectual vitality. So, and also I would highly recommend to submit optional recommendation letter if you have one. I didn't have one, but with Abdulaziz, we decided that he has amazing stories to mention, but he couldn't mention. But it's like it was observed by his mentors and his teachers, and his teachers basically he asked recommendation letters from them, and they also I think that they also provided lots of context to his application, because basically he submitted 5 recommendations in total. And yeah, this can be from other people, like it doesn't have to be just a teacher. It can be a professor that you've done research together, or one of those. And yeah, lastly, what I want to say is like, I wouldn't recommend to just do quantity stuff. So some students just apply to lots of universities without paying much attention. I would say quality over quantity. Create a proper college list is very important. It can make or break your application cycle. Fit with college is important because, so for example, I got admitted to Stanford, but I got rejected by some other schools. For example, Abdulaziz got admitted to Harvard, but he got rejected from Stanford, because we each had different fit with the university. Those have different values, and so it's important to actually assess your application and think about. But still, I wouldn't say don't apply. Just, you have nothing to lose with applying to those Ivy Leagues. But it's also important to just try to choose a good college that's your fit. And so consider those things. And yeah, if you're an international student who is in need of for financial aid, it is sometimes different for internationals compared to nationals. That's why I would recommend to write this whole prompt. And in terms of some of the visa stuff, if you get into some lower ranked university, let's say Arizona State University, but they don't give too much of a scholarship, and you don't have scholarship, it's hard to get visa. You might get rejected even if you got into that university. But when it comes to top university like Ivy League, basically they will cover everything you need as a money. You won't have any problem in terms of visa, because basically when I was having my visa interview, it was just like it lasted like 2 minutes. Um, or uh, Abdullah's had an interview, and he had like just one question, and then that's it, and then you just like get the visa. Uh, because it applies to Ivy League, and they can see that it's like a top university. So in terms of how you can reach out to me, or if you want to dive deeper into those topics, we have me and Abdulaziz, who got into Harvard. We have a cardinal admissions program that is coming up starting in June 22nd. It will last 2 months, and during that 2 months, we will approach each supplemental essay with like different strategies. And also because, for example, Stanford has intellectual vitality essay. Basically, it's not called intellectual vitality essay. It's called like write something. What There was like a question related to something that makes you excited about learning type of question. What makes you excited about learning? Uh, if I remember correctly, that is intellectual vitality essay. That is more, we approach this question to show more. For example, I approach this question to show more my academic side more than just cultural side. But it depends. For example, in my roommate essay, I did. I was I showed my fun personality, but also caring, and then the personality that I have was more important than just saying like, oh, I want to study something something. And yeah, other thing is we will do is like common up essays, giving more tips about that, and give because you will have a summer. We also want to focus on improving extracurriculars, creating passion projects, and also finding your personal brand, as you will have homeworks each week about reflection. You will also meet with Abdulaziz each week. You can identify the important parts, which want to focus, and then gain insider perspective. If you had a gap year, which I had, I had 3 gap years, which I during that time I didn't apply to any universities. It was I preferred to work, and then it was like a different journey. It's like a whole story. But basically, I needed to explain that gap period, so we will also touch upon that. And when it comes to recommendation letters, basically, I have the highest ranking in the category in my admission file in terms of recommendation letters too, because I was able to give good brag sheet, very detailed brag sheet, and I also very strategically choose which teacher to ask, so that I can show different perspectives. For example, I studied both in Turkish and Uzbek school, some years in Turkey, some years in Uzbek. So that's why I decided to take one of my recommendation letter from my Turkish school, the other one from my Uzbek school at the time that I was studying there. So basically, everyone has like unique things. And lastly, I want to say that yeah, everything starts with like dreaming big. Basically, um, I didn't I didn't know about anything common App related 9 months before I submitted my application to Stanford. So, but I had a big dream, but I also sacrificed a lot. Like every time was valuable. I was very disciplined at that time, like doing everything. So that's why I would highly recommend you, if you want something, basically everything will work out if you trust on it in the process. But discipline is very important, and that's why action is more important than the words. When it comes to my admission file, those are my ratings. I had 2 readers and third reader at the last for the overall evaluation. And yeah, test rating 1. 1 is highest, 6 is lowest, sometimes 4 is lowest. That's why I put those numbers. Reader 1 put 3, reader 2 put 3. Like, you will have 2 ratings. High school record is basically, usually if you studied in Uzbek school, every school high school record will have 3. Or like in Turkey, that's from my observation, because mm, even there was like even if the person studied in IB school in Turkey, he had a 3 in high school record. Basically, it's like related to your high school profile. Um, Probably it's like related to, for example, some sometimes they accept lots of students from a certain university, and they have more prestige than others. And in terms of support means recommendation letter. It's also highest one. Also, when it comes to assessing this file, I met with lots of students at Stanford who had all 3 in their rating, and still they got in. So I would say it's pretty decent. Even like having 1 or 2 is a good number. Extracurriculars is also 2, and intellectual 2 overall, and they will give overall number. And yeah, basically we finished at 9. Oh, okay. Exactly at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. in my time. Anyways, but yeah, awesome. Exactly, we finished at 1 hour, and now I'm gonna look at the questions. Yes, I applied to university after 2 years after I finished my high school. So basically, I studied in Beşiktaş Anadolu Lisesi, but before that, I studied in Uzbek school too. It was on and off in different schools. Um, and at that time, when I graduated in 2020, I wasn't thinking about university, so I didn't apply. I was working with the startups, I was doing some other things, I was focusing on different things. So then I didn't apply, but at that time, in that year that I applied to Stanford, I decided I want to apply to American universities, and then I started my journey. Um, let's see. How much does your course cost? It costs 700 per 2 months. Like for whole 2 months, it's 700. Why it's some people ask why it's cheap. Some people ask why it's expensive. I try to find a balance, basically between um, like the cheap and expensive, because I'm from Uzbekistan, and I want more Central Asian people got into like competitive university. Like I want to help them, and that's why I don't want to make it too expensive. Basically, that's why even though we are putting lots of time on it, um, because in terms of Central Asian countries, our income is not that high. That's why, because usually the prices in the admission courses is like uh, 2,000, 3,000, or something like that. And why it's expensive, if you are saying, then I mean, we are putting so much effort, and we are coming from the background that is like very unique and actually challenging, and we are putting lots of time effort into it. That's why. Anyways, let's see how you can apply for a course. Is that I will send a link to that in the chat. Just a second. Yep. But what you can do, you can also, I can send, yeah, basically I send it to the chat. And let's see the questions. There will be one sessions per week, and each week will have different topics, and there will be also weekly meetings with Abdulaziz. Main sessions will be taught by me, and individual meetings with Abdullah. I basically, what value do you give? I basically mentioned the values. What you will get is basically here, and you can read more in the application. Should we have SAT to apply your course? No, it's not a requirement, but you need to pass the interview. It's like a short interview that we do. Yes, Stanford Precollegiate Summer Institute is prestigious. How much time you have been prepared to SAT? I have a SAT videos in this YouTube channel. I highly recommend to check out for my full journey. I want I want CS, but heard it was super competitive too. Also hard to get scholarship in the area. Would you recommend not doing it? No, I wouldn't say that uh, you should pursue your passion. Basically, if you're interested in CS, you should do something related to CS. How? Yes, it is super competitive. That's why we are to make your case think into it. Like how you, what part of the CS are you interested in? So that's the important CS to contribute to the world. Basically, think about that, and I would recommend you to apply with that if your extracurricular activities also related to that. And in terms of scholarship, like top universities, they give scholarship according to whatever you need. Like if your family makes a lot of money, then of course they're gonna give less scholarship in terms of top universities, like top 20. Um, but when it comes to others, like top 200, then they give scholarship to different things. Each university is different, and your scholarship will not change according to your major. No, like for example, like questions. Achieving full scholarship for physics is hard. No, it's not about like it's important. If you get into university, they will cover your they will give you scholarship. It's not about the major. Um, what were your top three activities on the common? How many international awards did you have? In terms of my activities, I had uh, internship. I had a passion project. I'm interested in startups. I had a passion project. I had a startup related to the niche that I have, and passion internship related to the similar thing, and also this one also school leadership activities. Leadership activities are important. Uh, National award that I earned is that basically Female Founders Across Board Award. It's an international award. Um, I became a finalist in that program, but it got announced basically mm, at the end of the March, so it didn't have effect. What was your Turkish grades in school? It changed, but mostly five. Like yeah, I mean five as like in Turkish grade it's like out of 100. Because it's out of 100, it's still like it was 90 something something. I don't think I will open a new course in November because currently I'm in the summer, in the, yeah, basically in holiday, right? Summer break. But in November, I will be focusing on academics and internships more, applying to internships for the next year. So if I were to go to niche with the area of interest by using your double edge method, what would I need to put in the major area of intersection? There will be one main one. For example, as you see, like with the medicine and art example, um, then it was kind of like main one was medicine, basically pre-med, uh, but that person also used art to express that interest. Then that person, there's always like the main one that you will have, so you will put it into the major area. And also there was like another student that used, as I mentioned, used AI for political science. That student had more focus on AI, but also you chose like AI as the main one, but also put it into political science to second or third choice. Okay, I think I will be here for like uh 3 more minutes. If you have questions, I will highly recommend to ask it now. Would taking 5-6 APs apart from Uzbekistan curriculum yield a rating of 2? I cannot say for sure that it will be 2 because you can. It's not like definitely. You cannot say definitely because it's not like SAT, you know. Um, but it will give you an advantage. I would say if you can do it like 5-6 APs, it doesn't even have to be 5-6. Choose 2 or 3 in your interest area, then it would be good too. Let's see. I'm looking at the question. Um, I saw a question before, like going to the top. Would you recommend taking a gap year? I'm also from Turkey. Next year will be my final year. If you can apply this year, it depends on which. Uh, are you currently? Do you have extracurricular activities? Do you have essays? Can you prepare them until at least like regular admissions? I'm not even saying early application. I also didn't apply early because it wasn't ready. But if you can apply this year. I wouldn't recommend just taking a gap year without trying it and without having a strong reason for that. But usually 1 year gap year doesn't hurt. Most of the internationals I've met, they had 1 year gap year. So, but don't go to gap year if you don't have to. Let's see. You said you took 3 gap years, right? If so, will it not affect your chance of acceptance generally? Yes, definitely. I would say that if I wouldn't be strategic enough, if I didn't clarify clearly why I took those gap years and how it improved me and how it contributed to my journey, then I would be in a disadvantage. But I was able to use it to my advantage and like basically explain it in a good way, like why I took like in a well reasoned way. Uh, is it true that if you apply for not common majors, you will have higher chance of acceptance? I I wouldn't say so because let's say you are not. Let's think about non-common major. Let's say it is let's say it is like a which major? Classics. Like classics major is not very common one, but you are applying as a classics major, but you have no extracurricular activities that will show that you are passionate about classics. All of them are related to, let's say, economics or related to computer science or something else. Then it would raise a red flag, because why you're applying to classics major if your passion is in something else? And then if you're passionate about classics, and then why you're not doing something related to that? So if you do that, it will disadvantage you, like just applying for non-common major just for the sake of acceptance, not because you're passionate about it. For the Ahmet Dedeler, I would recommend showing intellectual vitality. If your grades are good, but like show intellectual vitality outside of the academics too. Like get your good SAT, get your good GPA. I would recommend to do like write research paper in the topic that you're interested in, or do a research program, apply to research program, and it will be more advantage in the academic side. Also have a curious mind in the essays too. Your in the essays it's also a huge advantage. What major? Um, I want to major in mechanical engineering. Should I do research with local professor or foreign? It can be both of them. Like basically, it doesn't matter as long as like you are doing something passionately and the professor is doing something passionately. Um, okay. I think we are done with the yeah. I think we are done with the questions. King'i kabul kaçan açılardı. It's like the application is still open for the course, so it's not closed, and it's gonna be like a one thing, because as I mentioned, after 2 months, I will be busy with the studies. How many? I would say try to improve side craft. Try to improve your essays extracurriculars too, because they are important. Like high SAT. Now most of the people have high SAT, and most of the students who have like 1600 SAT get rejected by Harvard, like a lot. Can we change our majors? They allow one application to Stanford for early application. Yes, it's not early decision. It's not committed, but you just have one. You only have to apply to Stanford as an early. That's correct. And I think Yale also has restrictive early action. We call it REA. And is it worth it? It depends. Is your essays ready? If your essay is ready, and then if you feel confident on that, then why not? But I would recommend to also look at the ED colleges early decision. Like if your application is more fit to Dartmouth, let's say, and then Dartmouth has like early decision, or UPenn has an early decision, which higher your chance of acceptance more compared to early application. So it depends. Or also it depends on the fit of your application. Like, are you more entrepreneurial student? Are you more political science type of student? For the last question, okay, I'm reading the last question. You're interested in three fields. You have extracurriculars in classics. You can combine major. You can combine major. You can change combine major after you get in. Yes. You can also combine major before you get in if you have some other activities, but also classics. You can combine the that one with the classics and maybe create something unique. Could anyone get rejected from your course? Like, we look at it holistically, basically. Once you apply, you will understand, like, after we talked into, like, after a day, we'll release a decision, basically. How did you get advice when you were applying? As I mentioned, I researched lots of those. I watched lots of YouTube admission file videos to try to understand admissions officer perspective. I even read like Harvard's affirmative action case so that I can understand like the Harvard's process of categorizing students. I listened lots of podcasts related to other things. So basically, online resources. I was resourceful because I also didn't have many resources in the beginning. Yeah, basically, we are finishing here. It was nice to, yeah, get to your question. And yeah, you can find more information from LinkedIn and Telegram channel and Instagram and everything. Have a nice day. It's a nice evening. I don't know what time is in your time. It's morning in mine. It's evening in Uzbekistan. Yeah. Bye.